What is up, guys? Welcome back to AFC Game by Game. I hope you're all doing really well. Apologies that there's been such lack of coverage from my end around recent events that have happened at Arsenal Football Club. First of all, the defeat to Frankfurt at home, which was, we won't get into that. I didn't do a review for that game, probably for the best. And of course, the things that unfolded in the aftermath of that game. I'm of course talking about Unai Emery's departure from Arsenal, his sacking, and the way it was. I think it was dealt quite well by Arsenal in the end. I think it was quite classy, it was quite dignified, and ultimately it was the right decision. And moreover, apart from being quite happy about the overall decision, I'm sorry to say that Unai, I think he's a perfect gentleman, really nice guy, just wasn't the right fit at this particular moment for Arsenal. And this was a job that was always going to be extremely difficult for anyone that takes over, and it's an incredibly difficult job for the man in the dugout now, Freddie Ljungberg, taking control of Arsenal after one of the longest reigns in Premier League history under Arsene Wenger. It's one of the toughest jobs in world football. Let's have it right. This is an extremely difficult job in an era where clubs, during Arsene Wenger's last 10 years, were changing consistently. There were very few managers that were changing managers so consistently. So it's no surprise that Man United are struggling, that we're struggling. It should come as no real surprise at all. But as I say, I think it's the right decision. I'm very relieved that it's happened. And today I'm just here to report on our first game under the reign of Freddie Ljungberg. It was a game that I was very much looking forward to. I didn't know what to expect from it. We've got to be realistic. Freddie has been in charge of the team for 2 days. So to expect change overnight is ridiculous, to be quite honest. But I think there are obviously going to be moments in the game, things we can point out that we weren't particularly happy with. I think the lineup is definitely something that is up for debate. If that was the lineup that Unai Emery had fielded, he'd get crucified. It was a lineup that I personally wouldn't have gone with. I was pleased to see us go back to a back four. I still thought it was a bit too narrow. There was no real width. You've got to be asking questions as to why Nicola Pepe can't get in the team in a minute. There's got to be something going on behind the scenes. Emery wasn't picking him. Ljungberg hasn't picked him for his first game in charge. I hope he gets back into the fold, at least for a substitute appearance against Brighton on Thursday night. That's a game we have to win now. And I mean, I'm not holding out too many expectations on Arsenal getting top four. For me now, this season is all about rebuilding what has been an absolute catastrophic start to the season. I was going to say chaotic. It's been chaotic and catastrophic as well. I wasn't sure what word to use. There's so many negatives to sum up the start of this season, but I still think we've got a very good foundation to build from. And I don't think we should be, as important as Champions League football is, in the short term, that's something that we can assess after Christmas, I think. See where we are at that point. But for now, I mean, I think we're 7 points off top four, so it's not unachievable. But given the way we're playing, it's not something that I'm holding out a lot of hope on, let me put it that way. But I was encouraged by today's performance, even though it's a draw against a side that we definitely should be beating. Getting the recent results out of our head is not something that's going to happen incredibly quickly. I hope that with a good win against Brighton, which I hope will be a good win, then we can restore some confidence in this Arsenal team, because it is a confidence thing. These players are a lot better than they're making out to be. So I'm excited for that game on Thursday. I was encouraged by the first half an hour today, really. I thought we were unfortunate with the first goal we conceded, that taking a wicked deflection off Mustafi. But you could put any coach in charge of Arsenal in a minute. It could be Allegri, it could be Guardiola, it could be Jurgen Klopp, it could be Brendan Rodgers. Fixing that defence is a huge overhaul issue, and it's not going to be fixed until William Saliba comes in and we buy in another centre half, because at the minute, Socrates, David Luiz, Mustafi, they're very poor centre-back options. Let's be honest, they're very poor. And I was disappointed to see Callum Chambers start a right-back today. I know in the absence of Hector Bellerin, it's inevitable that he's going to play at right-back. But I think going forwards, he actually did quite a lot. I think he got forward at every opportunity, but that was also part of the problem. He got forward a bit too much, left a space that was vacant on both of the goals, which caused us massive problems. He's not got the legs to get back, so I really want to see him deployed as a centre-back or even a central defensive midfielder, because he's not a full-back, and it's as frustrating for him as it must be frustrating for us to see him play there at full-back, because he's just so obviously not accustomed to that position. Even though he's played there loads, he's just not got the ability to play there. And as soon as Hector Bellerin's back in the fold, I hope we see maybe Luiz and Chambers at centre-half, or Luiz and Holding, or Holding and Chambers. That's something I think a lot of people are crying out for. But anything that doesn't include Mustafi, Luiz and Socrates, all three of them starting or two of them starting together, it just doesn't work. And that's not me individually criticising them. They're just not good enough. Mustafi today, I think he's had some good performances this season. This wasn't one of his better performances. We have a real knack of backing off players when they're running towards us. I don't know why that is, but we back off until they're 10 yards away from goal. And if it wasn't for Bernd Leno today, we would have lost this game. Let's be honest. But again, we did have chances at the other end, and that's what's more encouraging than what I've seen in recent weeks. We whimpered off a little bit. after the equaliser. We didn't really push as much as we should have done for that second goal, but I think the passages of play, the way we were breaking through the lines in that first half, it was fun to watch. It was more enjoyable. But the defence obviously is going to let us down. It's inevitable that we're going to concede about 2 goals every game in a minute. We've got a good chance at home to Brighton to try something new with the defence. I hope we don't go back to a back 3. I can't see that being something that Ljungberg would deploy, but I'd like to see Holding or Chambers come back in at centre half. Hopefully Bellerin's fit for that game so we can have him at right back. Kolasinac, by the way, today, immense, and before the game I was amazed that Tierney didn't start, but Kolasinac was absolutely fantastic today. It's difficult for him to find a man in the box, but I think that's also because we've got our top goal scorer playing out wide, and Lacazette was just awful today. Hate to say it, but away from home, it's like playing with 10 men at times. And going forward, I wouldn't play him in these games. I really wouldn't, because we've talked about Ozil in the past being invisible in away fixtures, but it's the same for Lacazette. He is anonymous. He was really, really poor today, in my opinion, and I'd be much happier if we went with Aubameyang and then someone like Martinelli or Saka on the left, or even Nelson, play Pepe on the right. I think that'd just be a lot more effective going forward in these away games. Of course, I don't make those kind of decisions, but that's something that I'd definitely like Freddie to consider for the time that he is in charge at Arsenal. And I thought the midfield was questionable today as well. I mean, I was surprised we went with kind of a 3 in midfield with Ozil just ahead of them. It was like a liability. It was like liability City in the midfield with Willock and Guendouzi, the amount of times they gave the ball away. But they're 20 years old, the pair of them, so these mistakes are inevitable. And if you're going to play young players, I think you need to play more experienced heads with them. So I would have gone Xhaka, Torreira, and one of Willock or Guendouzi. I was surprised to see so many midfielders in there, to be honest. We played with one more midfielder rather than an attacking frontman. So I was surprised that Freddie was a little bit more conservative in his approach, but he's still trying to... He's not a coach. He's not a head coach, really, is he? It's a strange one because he's had no experience in this whatsoever. And I'm not saying that's a huge problem for me. I think every coach has got to start somewhere. And I think with managers, it's not necessarily about the experience they have. It's more about finding someone that's a right fit for a club. That's why I think so many people are excited by the prospect of potentially Mikel Arteta coming in as manager, because he sounds like he'd be a good fit. And I think Freddie could be a good fit in the long term. Maybe not right now, but maybe in a couple of years' time, because he knows the way we want to play. He's a manager that I think could potentially do something in the future. I just don't know if now is the right time to do that. But he's a very intelligent man. He's got a very intelligent assistant manager in Per Mertesacker. These are intelligent guys, but they're not guys with experience at the top level. Whether that'll be a problem or not, I'm not too sure. But if they are a good fit, then I'm sure we'll see that in that game against Brighton, where hopefully we'll build on that expansive football that we played today. But as I say, I was disappointed to see us whimper off after getting the equaliser. But it's encouraging that we were defiant and we came back after having gone 1-0 down and then 2-1 down. But defending is a massive issue for us. Massive issue. And every game we're inevitably going to concede. So there's a huge reliance on our front men. And it is deeply worrying as well that Aubameyang is our only player, apart from Lucas Torreira, to score away from home this season. So, I mean, everyone else has got to chip in. And it tells you a lot about Lacazette's contribution this season. I mean, I know he's had a spell on the sidelines, but he's just very ineffective away from home. And I think assessing how we play away from the Emirates has got to be a big part of Freddie Ljungberg's plans in the immediate term, because we just need to pick up some points on the road. Today should have been a win against the Norwich side that, yes, they won recently against Everton, but they're a Norwich side that have been very poor for the most part this season, and I feel like if we play to our strengths and we play with more confidence, than we do win this game. But I can't criticise Freddie Ljungberg one game into his Arsenal reign after having coached the squad for a couple of days. It doesn't work like that. He needs more time. It'd be interesting to see how he lines up on Thursday night against Brighton. I'm buzzing for that game, I've got to be honest. I'm trying really hard not to think about the Champions League, getting top 4. I just want to enjoy the football again. And today, for at least a little period, I was a bit more excited. I was off my seat and I did enjoy the football that bit more. So if we can build on that and we can just subsidise it to conceding 1 goal a game, then maybe we can improve things. But it's a massive ask for Freddie Ljungberg. And as I say, I'm relieved the club have made this decision. But it's all about getting the next step right. And I hope the club are thorough in their approach. They take their time. They don't rush into a decision, because I think now, I don't want to say we've got to write this season off, but we do need to learn from what went wrong. We do need to rectify the mistakes that we've already made, and we need to get someone that is a right fit for Arsenal Football Club. That could be Arteta. I have a feeling he's a strong contender personally, and I'd be very excited about his appointment. I really would be. I'd be a lot more excited about him being manager than someone like Freddie Ljungberg being made permanent manager, for example. Just because I think as I say, I think Arteta, Ljungberg, Mertesacker, the thing they all have in common is they're all very intelligent people, and every single one of them can bring something to Arsenal. But Arteta, having had those coaching years under Guardiola, he knows the style of football we want to play. I think he'd be a great candidate. But it's all up for debate. We're not the ones making these decisions, and we can just see it unfold as the board see fit. But I think, as much as we criticise KSE, I think you've got to hand it to Josh Kroenke for being at the training ground, for being there in person, and for making this decision. Because if they didn't care about Arsenal, then I think they would have just let this string out longer and longer and longer and longer. Because I think the thing that was holding up the sacking really was Raul Sanelli pushing back on it, because of course we know that he's got strong links to Unai Emery, that they're quite close, and Sanelli was even pushing for a contract extension for Emery in the summer. So it's a whole manner of things, and I think you've got to hand it to Josh Kroenke for making this call, and for showing that he does indeed care about Arsenal. I'm not too sure about Stan, but it's good to see that there is someone present addressing the players, and that man is Josh Kroenke. So that's all I've really got to say on it today. Disappointed not to win, but it was always going to be a really strange game. I hope that Freddie gets it right on Thursday and we get a good win and we score a couple of goals. I really, really hope that will be the case, because we haven't had a particularly fun performance this season so far. Anyway, guys, please do drop a like on this video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And as always, I will speak to you very, very soon. See you later, guys.